This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Roadshow. This episode is brought to you by Rule 1 Proteins. If you're looking to get back in the gym or looking to re-up your supplement game, go check out Rule 1 Proteins. They're the best in the business. They get the best protein powder, the best supplements, the best vitamins. You name it, they got it. Go check them out at www.rule1proteins.com. You guys know the drill. My name is Truck. I am currently inside of a truck, and I am joined, as always, by Kulz and Shane O'Mac. And today, we have another great guest for you guys lined up. We have Mike Lindsley, host of ML Sports Platter. Mike, how you doing?
I'm great, guys. Been looking forward to this all day, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. And I've caught some stuff on the social channel, so it's a pretty cool show, and I'm honored to be here.
Appreciate it, Mike. It's good to see you again. A little bit of background: we met a couple 4th of Julys ago briefly. And through a mutual friend, shout out Dave Folland. And I think Dave brought us together and mentioned that I was, kicking around the idea of starting a sports podcast. And you definitely thought, it gave me some very encouraging words to take a shot. And here we are today. You're on the pod. So it's pretty cool. Full circle. Brought you on to talk Bills. And I see a Syracuse flag back there. We might even get in some Bonnies. I know you like the Bonnies.
We could also not talk about any of that stuff at all. I mean, honestly, we could talk about anything. We could talk about my chapstick I got on the desk here. We could talk about my family. We could talk about my dog, the weather. Yeah. We could talk about none of that if you wanted to, but no.
I got the impression that you like to talk, and that's why we're all here. We're all talkers, and we may, things might spin off the rails, and who knows what we get into. So very much looking forward to it. Thank you for, coming on, and it's going to be a lot of fun talking Bills. But first off, just want a little background on you, where you're from, kind of your fandom, your Bills fandom, and where that passion came from, and kind of get into it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I was 5 years old, I was into everything. As a little kid, I was the one. I mean, I was born in '79, so I'm 44 years old now, and I was the kid. And again, this is before social media, all the sports channels. We didn't have cable growing up until much older. So it was network television, and it was This Week in Baseball, and it was Bills games. My dad grew up a diehard Bills fan. He was a Packers fan though originally. He loved the Lombardi Packers as a young boy. And then of course the Bills, came in '60. He was 10, and then he started to kind of like both, and then Packers dwindled away, and all of a sudden he's a psycho Bills fan living in Batavia. He went to Roberts Wesleyan, and, we're a lot like our parents always, right? You grow up with what your parents like, whether it's music, sports, or whatever. So I got all of my teams from him. A lot of that, Dad, was not great parenting. But the Bill Sabres thing came from him, and the Yankees thing came from him. And, growing up in upstate New York and eventually living here, I moved away for a short time, came back, and, been in media ever since, doing some regional, national, all that sort of stuff. But, Syracuse games, growing up in the Big East. I mean, I grew up Saturday afternoon, Syracuse, UConn, Syracuse, Georgetown. I grew up with Sherman Douglas and Derek Coleman and Stevie Thompson and the '87 team, and eventually covering, the team to the point where, I've had all these guys on my shows now. And the same thing goes for the Bills. I mean, I've had Kelly and Thomas and Reed and Marv Levy and all these guys on my show, Don Beebe, Mark Kelso. So it goes back to those days. It goes back to loving the teams that my dad loved. And when I was 5 years old, I was a psycho sports fan, and I knew right away, watching Marv Albert, Bob Costas, everybody you could imagine, Dick Enberg, all these guys on television, play-by-play color guys, reporters, sports talk show hosts, eventually listening to people like Mike and the Mad Dog and interning for Adam Shine and all these different people I idolized, living in Syracuse, seeing people come through here. I always knew even as I got into music through my mom, who was a music teacher, and I my trombone's sitting right here, and I learned how to play guitar a few years ago, self-taught. I always knew that I wanted to be in the sports media industry right from the get-go. I wrote about it when I was in first grade. You can ask all my former teachers. I used to call into the Syracuse football post-game shows with Doug Logan. I ended up interning for Doug and Jim Lurch and Stephen Fani at Channel 9 when I was at Bonaventure. So this thing goes back a long, long time. My dad made me scrapbooks, and I put everything in there as a junkie sports fan. I'm eating cereal in the morning, probably a whole box, and I'm looking at box scores after I watch the games, and I still do the same thing right now. So it goes back 39 years, guys, honestly, with my love for the Bills and the Sabres and Syracuse, and eventually I went to St. Bonnie and, the Yanks, obviously. I'm a huge Yanks fan. I've interviewed not all, but a ton of the big names there. So that's without giving you an hour on me, that's as quick as I can get to it. But this thing goes back a long time, and I might be more passionate now because of the objectivity coupled with the subjectivity than I was at 5. The only difference now is maybe I don't cry after a wide right.
Yeah.
And I just bitch about it. But I did cry when Norwood went wide right. I cried when Keith Smart made the shot. So that's it, man. I'm all in. I've been all in for decades, and I'm not slowing down anytime soon.
I love it. I love it. So funny, again, talking Syracuse, this is a part of why Dave and I became friends. Is we both went to LSU, and he's from Syracuse as well. And I've randomly been a Syracuse basketball fan my entire life. Like, I think that Mello team is probably what was the nail in the coffin, but the Big East tournament, that was the best thing in sports in my mind. Like, I love March Madness. That was one of my first loves with sports, but that old school Big East tournament was incredible every single year. The competition, I mean, those guys wanted to win that tournament as much as they did March Madness, and you could feel it in the tournament. I'm sure you've been to a few, so I'd love to hear about growing up in that.
Yeah, I didn't go actually as a kid, believe it or not. I didn't make it to the Big East tournament until I was about 10 years into my media career. I graduated from St. Bonaventure in 2002. Of course, they were really good when I was there as well. I mean, you're talking about growing up in Mecca college basketball with all these top teams, coaching personalities, monster great players, right? I mean, I had just missed Pearl Washington, for example, but I got Sherman Douglas, my favorite player in Q's history. I didn't go or cover it until 2011-12, which was a Syracuse Elite 8 team. And then 2012-13 was the last one as we knew it before they went to the ACC when football really took over. And if you remember, that team went to the Final Four, and they were mediocre all year. Trish and Carter Williams, Jeremy Grant, Sutherland, that whole team. They go to the Final Four. The zone shuts everybody down on their way. And those were the 2 years for the Big East that I went. And it was incredible because the last win in the Big East tournament for Syracuse was against who? Georgetown. Because they beat Georgetown in the semis, and then they ran out of gas in the second half against Louisville. So those were the two that I went to. And I've been to a lot of sporting events as a fan and as a media member. And I got to tell you, man, walking around New York City and walking in Madison Square Garden and knowing that I was covering it, and you look around and the bright lights are on and the game, it's different. Cool. There are certain things, and I know you guys as fans and media people now probably realize there are certain things that are in a different category. I mean, you can go to a baseball game and in Pittsburgh, no disrespect to Pittsburgh, the park is amazing. I've been there. I went like maybe 14 days after 9/11. It's a great park. I didn't feel the same as when I walked into Wrigley Field. I didn't feel the same as I walked into Fenway or the old Yankee Stadium, right? I walk on Oak Hill. My body feels different. I've been to Lambeau. It feels different. The Garden feels different. It feels different when you walk in there. Those tournaments were unbelievable. So cool. Yeah, and as a kid growing up, watching these games, being there, 30,000 with the blue curtain, John Thompson. Yeah. Oh my God. It's
incredible.
Unbelievable. I miss it. Right now. I do. I miss it. Just talking about it makes me Makes me sad.
Yeah, no, it's great. I could tell the passion was there. I wanted to bring that up because of it. I know we're here to talk Bills, and we'll get into it in a second. But one other thing I wanted to run by you, I've been to Tully's and Dinosaur Barbecue. Are those two spots? Would you call those must try for those that?
Tully's is an absolute must. The tenders are to die for. You got to get the honey mustard and the barbecue sauce. Obviously, they don't sponsor my show, but feel free to come on board anytime they want to. Tully's is a must. The honey mustard and barbecue sauce, half and half. You got to do it. In my old age, salt, sodium. I got to watch the fries, but God, you got to have at least a couple with the tenders. Dinosaur barbecue is good. It's a landmark, and I get it, but it's overrated.
Okay.
Limp Lizard crushes Dinosaur Barbecue. I think they have the best barbecue in town, but I got sponsors galore. You know that. And I go to my places first, one of which is actually, the New York State best burger, by the way. They've won it 7 times or whatever it is in the LA pub. But as far as barbecue goes, I think it's decent. It's a great place, awesome atmosphere. My cousin's band plays there often. But I think it's a little overrated in terms of, oh my gosh, if you don't go to Dinosaur Barbecue, your trip to Central New York is going to be ruined.
Well, shame on Dave for making that a must stop for us.
It's a stop, but I don't think it's like Lambo. We just talk. I don't think it's Oak Hill. See what I'm saying? I don't think it's Lambo. I think you got to stop, but I don't think it's this greatest place on earth kind of thing.
Well, truck, are you taking notes? I'm sure we'll be in Syracuse someday, and we're gonna have to hit Tully's. You got the half and half honey barbecue.
Got to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm taking notes for sure.
All right. Well, let's get into Bills talk. Speaking of Lambeau, Packers just signed Josh Jacobs. That's a pretty big signing. But let's get into Bills. Gabe Davis signed with the Jaguars. We know that was going to be a part of the conversation here today. So I guess just jump right in with off-season storylines. How are we going to replace that wide receiver? Is it going to be Kincaid as the second option all season? What do you think the pass catching for Josh Allen looks like? Into next year.
By the way, first of all, I didn't know that we were going to be doing a show with Jim Harbaugh lookalike in McCormick.
I'll take it.
There's some Harbaugh there. I mean, there's the head. I want to see some like Michigan gear on him to really spice.
I like that.
I'll take it.
We have not heard that yet, but I love it.
We've been searching for my doppelganger, so. That's good to hear.
Now that you mention it, it's a striking resemblance.
Big time. And I bet you'd wish you'd had his bank account too. Gabe Davis is a very, very, very interesting former Bill, right? I mean, he is. As far as the direct question goes, the second option clearly, I mean, I got to tell you guys, I think the first option might be Dalton Kincaid now, right? I mean, is Diggs even a number 1 anymore? I mean, he's a premier receiver. He used to be in the category of when healthy Cooper Kupp and the Devontae Adamses and the A number 1s in Jamar Chase. I mean, you can go on and on. You guys know the names as well. I mean, I think he's still the A number 1 for the Bills, and I think he's probably still a number 1, but he's not that number 1. He's not like a Tyreek Hill difference maker kind of guy, weaponry that you would think of. Kincaid and Diggs will be your 2 guys for sure. I think what's going to be interesting is how Joe Brady has this offense now for a full year. I think that's going to dictate where the options are because Dawson Knox, first of all, I felt bad about his brother, when he passed and a lot of the challenges that Knox has had and the injuries and all that. But from a football perspective, I think the guy's a complete waste of money. I mean, they paid him prematurely, and I thought they really could have put a lot of that money elsewhere. Now, I don't think that money should go into Gabe Davis either. Should have gone to Gabe Davis. But you've got Dawson Knox, and you're going to have to deal with that, right? I mean, he's on the roster, and unless you're going to – I mean, if you cut him, it's just dead money. To me, I think the Bills have got to operate more with getting the ball to their big bullseye guys in Kincaid and Knox. Diggs is still going to get the targets, and if he isn't going to get him, he's going to cry about it. So you're going to get Diggs, you're going to get Kincaid, you got to have Knox. The 2 wild cards are with that Brady full year offense. Khalil Shakir, he really came on last year, and I love his game. He's shifty. You can put him in the slot. He's good enough to trick you on the boundary once in a while. And what do they do in the draft? To me, Sean McDermott is clearly a defensive guy. He has had an elite defense at times during his career, including this past year. But when it comes to the postseason, they always fall flat. They always fold like a cheap tent at a Boy Scout trip. They have got to figure out a way to just be, in my opinion, good enough defensively and go get more horses in the barn for the unicorn quarterback in number 17, okay? Because Josh Allen is the last guy you blame on this team. He's done everything possible. Sean McDermott has lost games 13 seconds, double-digit leads, all that stuff. Allen has had guys drop the ball left and right. He's had guys ride the roller coaster. And one of those guys has been Gabe Davis as well. Trust me, he's been on my fantasy team, and he's freaking mad at me. So Gabe Davis, to me, you couldn't pay him what the market said. He was an inconsistent guy. And I will say this, I was shocked this year that he had the year he had. Because if you remember, he had the foot injury from the year before. I thought he was going to explode this year, and the Bills were going to have to make a tough decision in terms of whether to bring him back or not with the financial situation, right? But the situation was dealt for them because he just didn't perform, and therefore sayonara. Receivers, Diggs, Kincaid, he plays kind of the hybrid tight end, right? Role with the receiver. You've got Shakir. I think you should go draft 2 or 3 receivers. I do. And I think you should put them in the offense. Hell with this. They put too much into the defense. AJ Epinesa, Gregory Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Von Miller, whether it's free agency, drafts, whatever, Tim Settle, DaQuan Jones. Can we please support the quarterback? The quarterback who's an MVP guy who gives you 50 friggin' touchdowns a season in the regular season and in the postseason? I'll show you who you got to support. It's this dude. It's number 17. It's not Von Miller. It's not the damn defense. McDermott has put together all this. Oh, he's such a great mind defensively. The safeties. Enough. You've got a freaking unicorn at quarterback. There's Mahomes and there's Allen. That's it. That's the list. They're the 2 best quarterbacks in the league. Josh Allen has played as well, if not better, than anybody against the Kansas City Chiefs. Go get them some friggin' help. That's what they need. They need to go get people in the draft who can go up and get it, who have balls, who aren't going to drop 3rd and 6s over the middle like Gabe Davis and like all these other guys. By the way, Stephon Diggs has been dropping the ball too much as well. The receiver power ranking is exactly what I said, with implementation of receivers in what could be one of the most historical wide receiver drafts in history, guys. That's where I line up in, as far as Davis being gone and bringing some people in and who they've got right now.
As far as bringing some people in, like, who really jumps out at you to fit this Bills scheme and to fit those roles that you need? Any names that are on the top of your list that you want to see them target in the draft? You don't have to get too deep in the list, but just
it's easy to say, the Coleman kid from Florida State's an interesting one, right? Because when I watch him, he has pop ability, and he clearly was a guy that Norvell Jr. got in the transfer portal that Dabo Swinney wouldn't get, right? And then you look at where the programs were. Now, Florida State, they got hosed. I could spend a whole hour on that in this show. We're not going to do that. My sister went to Florida State too, and I got a Charlie Ward thing on my wall. So I kind of like Florida State, and it pissed me off. Here's the thing. He gives you the bust, but he's not sustainable, right? He gives you the boom rather, but he's not sustainable. He's kind of more bust than he is boom. Isn't that what Gabe Davis was? Right? So, do you really want that right back into your offense? I don't know. Brandon Beane is aggressive. He's an aggressive GM. I would tell you, I would love for him, and they're starting to stockpile the picks again here. I know it would be a big, big cost, but why not, with you in the Josh Allen window, to go and use 2 or 3 picks and say, to hell with it. I want Rome Odunze. Go get him. Here's 2-3 picks. And you know what? If you even have to give up one of your guys, like a Shakir who just pops, who I do love, if you have to give up somebody like him and 2 picks, I think he might be an all-world wide receiver, and he covers everything that a Joe Brady offense needs. That could be one guy right there. But there's a lot of guys. I mean, this is a deep draft, guys. You can go in, you could probably go into the 3rd, 4th round and get a couple of guys right now. But to me, as far as a fit and a big guy, he'll be off the board and it'll cost a ton. But I look at that guy. I saw him play all year long. I saw him playing the biggest games. I don't know. Is there a better fit for an offense right now than that guy? I mean, you guys have seen his games. Good Lord. Imagine him getting balls from Allen and being used on the boundary and used in the Brady offense. And I don't know, play action. You can use him on reverses. You can play him everywhere. I don't, great hands, route running's terrific. He's an ideal cerebral guy that Brady, you guys know Brady loves the smart receivers, right? I mean, he was with LSU, right? And the historical season that they had with the names. I don't even need to say them. Burrow, Jefferson, Chase, all these guys. You know what Chase and Jefferson also are? They're smart. These wide receivers that are elite, they're smart, I mean, so I don't know. That to me is a great fit right there, man. It really is. But it's going to cost you a bunch. You just got to make the decision, and that's where being a GM is so hard. It's one of the million decisions you have to make.
Yeah, that Odunze fit is really good. I think him and Diggs would work extremely well together, especially as you mentioned earlier. Diggs not necessarily is he a number 1 anymore? Not if he drops the ball like he did last year. Specifically, the one, I forget which game this was late in the year when he dropped that deep ball on the right side of the field.
Chargers?
I think it was. Yep. And anyways, but yeah, I think his skill set fits extremely well with Diggs because he's going to demand a lot of attention. You can get him the ball in so many creative ways that it should open up Diggs in space a little bit, and then Kincaid can just kind of take over the middle of the field. Not only that, down the field, like he was such a ball hawk with Penix on that deep ball. Josh Allen's the best deep ball thrower in the league, period, in my mind. So, I mean, I think that fit would be pretty spectacular. Brian Thomas maybe is another name. Yeah. He's raw talent, but his deep ball ability is pretty incredible as well.
Yeah, I wanted to throw in. There were two. I mean, I know the names. I was looking for the height, weight, which was the problem because we're coming off the combine, right? So everybody's got to. Hey, man, I need fingernail size. Okay, I need thigh. I need the details on the width of your knees. I want to know what cereal you eat. I got to know if you like, if you eat ranch with your wings. I got to know. I got to know centimeters around your shoulders, right? I mean, come on, guys. The combine is, it's important stuff. No, seriously, it's a little overblown. But I was looking up 2 guys. Brian Thomas Jr. I really love. I'm glad you brought him up. He's 6'4", 205. Yeah. I mean, that's a gots to get, up in the air situation. Think about having Kincaid, Knox, Thomas, Diggs in the red zone, right? And Allen's already a spectacular red zone player. Xavier Worthy made some huge news with his speed from Texas. He's 6'1", 172. Normally you'd say, sure, why not? Played at Texas, big stage, right? He's got the speed. But Khalil Shakir's there. Yeah. So do you need another one of those guys? I don't know. It seems like the only thing with Gabe Davis that you missed is what I just talked about with Thomas Jr. He was 6'4", 215. Say whatever you want about Gabe Davis at 220. That's what he was. He was length, go up and get it, right? But again, too much of this. They got to bring in a guy who can consistently do it. I do like the kid Troy Franklin too out of Oregon. He's 6'3", 195. So there's another go up and get it situation. You might want to go that direction if you're Brandon Beane. But again, the big guys are going to be gone off the board. I mean, you look at some of these projections right now. Marvin Harrison Jr. clearly is the best receiver in the draft. Neighbors is going to be gone. Odunze is going to be off the board. But honestly, guys, after that, 5 to 7, 8 guys are really, really smart, good choices. But if I'm the Bills, I literally take 2 wide receivers. I mean that. With my first 2 picks, I go offense, because this dude is only going to be there for so long. He's a little bit bigger than this version of Josh. But again, he's only going to be there for so long. You got to maximize QB1. He needs one of these guys to help him out.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the running back room. And I think from all of us, at least from a fantasy perspective, we could really tell a change with James Cook once Brady come aboard as offensive coordinator. There was a concerted effort to get him the touches, to get him the carries that led to production. Now, going into this year, you've got, I think, all of the backup running backs are free agents, I believe. So somebody probably needs to get brought in to be that second person. Would you rather see somebody, a mid to lower level free agent guy, brought in, whether if it's like an Alexander Madison or a Gus Edwards type, or would you rather see that kind of addressed in the draft?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I like Ty Johnson. I mean, I thought he brought a lot to the table from kind of a bowling ball standpoint. He kind of reminded me a little bit like Zach Moss a couple years ago when the Bills had double-digit leads in Denver and San Francisco. Zach Moss wore the defense down and just kind of killed time. Maybe you want that compliment to a James Cook. I'll give you a sneaky one, a guy who I thought, well, because he played for the Cowboys, and when you play for the Cowboys, everybody is supposed to be a Hall of Famer from the second they're on the roster. Zeke Elliott. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that a decent fit? Listen, if you can get him at a low, if you can get him at a low money amount and you can balance him with Cook, maybe that's a nice thing. Because Cook, as you know, is a little bit more lightning, right? He's a little bit more of that Swiss Army, catch it out of the backfield and all the rest. I like Ty Johnson. I'd like to have him back to complement James Cook. If you don't do that, maybe you go deep in the draft and you bring in a veteran if you can get him for the right price. Zeke Elliott, okay. If you can get a guy in the league who's established at the right dollar, A.J. Dillon. Mm-hmm. To me, that is the guy. If you can take A.J. Dillon, put him with James Cook. Again, I prefer Johnson. But if you're going to go that route, you might go A.J. Dillon type of a thing. And hey, let's face it, he's been banged up a little bit. He's kind of been exposed, right, with Green Bay, and he's not, what people think he used to be. Maybe that means he can get, breathe some new oxygen in Western New York, get that guy a couple of, solid cooked chicken wings from Barbill, and he's off and running. He's good to go. You put him with James Cook, and away you go. I got to make a quick 30-second comment on James Cook, though. You brought him up. He definitely grew before Brady, and then he was maximized with Brady. You're right, because of the play calling. But a lot of credit is due to Aaron Cromer. This guy is a great offensive line coach, and the offensive line right now is really making me frustrated. And we could even talk about that too. But Aaron Cromer's blocking strategy and how he had these guys going all year, they were able to unlock a little bit more with James Cook for sure. And Brady's offense had him utilized more like he was at Georgia. You've got to have him run in between the tackles and on the outside and catch the football. Utilize him in a lot of different ways, almost like a Christian McCaffrey, but in a small way, a microcosm kind of way. But James Cook, another one of these guys, stop dropping the ball. James Cook had 1 million drops this year in huge spots. He put it on the carpet, remember, the first time. Remember the first carry against the Rams?
Yeah.
In his career, he put it on the carpet. He hasn't stopped fumbling since. And McDermott benched him a couple times for it this year. Hang on to the ball. That's another thing with Josh Allen. You cannot, Mahomes complained all year. I mean, poor Patrick Mahomes with all the drops. They might have statistically had the most drops in the NFL, but nobody had bigger drops than the Buffalo Bills. James Cook has got to catch the ball better. I think he's on his way. He's a big, rising, ascending player for the Bills, and I love him. You put an A.J. Dillon next to him, you get a little bit more coaching, more of the Brady offense for a full year, but hang on to the ball. He could be a 1,200-yard total guy in this league like that.
Yeah, I love that A.J. Dillon suggestion. I didn't even think about that, and has a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove with how he performed in Green Bay. So I would like that fit. Personally, I think the best route for the Bills is to grab a running back later on in the draft in like the 5th round. As we've talked about on previous episodes, with this draft being so wide receiver heavy, it's pushing a lot of these running backs to later on in the rounds in the draft. And I think there's going to be some great value for you guys to pick up a guy to fit that role. A lot of bruiser running backs in this.
Braylon Allen.
Yeah. I would love to see one of these guys go to the Bills. Personally, that's just what I would like to see happen. But I love the A.J. Dillon take as well.
So you mentioned Aaron Cromer. Funny story quickly. I guess this was last Christmas. I was in Chicago. They had just played the Bears, and their plane got either something happened with the Bills plane flight back from Chicago to Buffalo on Christmas Eve. And I was at Butch McGuire's, a bar in Chicago. The entire Bills staff was right next to me. And met Cromer, gosh, I forget the blonde-haired receivers coach. Who else was there? Who was the
Eric Washington there too?
Potentially all of the coordinator was there. Who is the guy that just got fired? Why can't I think of his name? Who? Dorsey. Yeah. But yeah, it was funny. You mentioned Cromer, and I had completely forgot about him, Googled him, and he was one of the guys I was talking to that day. But so this is a fantasy show. Dalton Kincaid, that's a guy who is going to be a big talking point for the Bills because he is expected to make that jump. So, where do we draft him in leagues is going to be a big conversation this offseason, especially around draft time. I've been high on Kincaid. I will continue to be so. As you mentioned earlier, he could be the number one pass catcher from Allen. So, I think there will be value there heading into next fantasy season, as not everyone thinks that way. So talk about Kincaid a little bit, what you saw from him in his first year and what to build on next year.
Well, I got to tell you, first of all, from a fantasy perspective, for somebody like me, fantasy, I'm in a no-win playing fantasy. Okay. I didn't play it for years. Finally, this group, Dave Folan, these guys, the Nuzzo, my man Mike Nuzzo and the Walls and David, they've all been going on and on. Dan Reynolds, these guys, you got to play in this league. You got to play in this league. They're my core guys, right? My best guys. I said, I'm not doing it. I said, I'm not doing fantasy sports. I hate fantasy. I don't bet. I don't do any. Oh, you're calling every name of the book. Some of it fun. Some of it they meant. That's fine. I said, I'm not. Finally, I cracked. Okay. And here's why fantasy sucks for me. Okay. I worked in sports media for 25 years. Okay. I cover it. I bleed it. You guys can tell, right? I mean, I breathe it. I smell it. I eat. It's all me all the time. I invest like 25 to 30 books I read a year. I'm watching games. I read everything possible online. Fantasy sports is a no-win for Mike Lindsley. Okay. I've been in the business for 25 years. Number one, if I win a league, which hasn't happened, it's, you're supposed to, sports. If I lose, it's, we know more than you. I thought you were supposed to know. So I'm in a no-win. I'm not. Tell you this, though. This year, I'm looking for Dalton Kincaid on my board. If he's available, I'm getting him early because I think he has the potential to be like a guy who I've had on my fantasy teams. Now, I started strong this year. I knew it was going to completely get flushed down the can. I knew it. I knew it was just going to completely. And sure enough, Cousins goes down, and all these injuries give me a break. But Mark Andrews has always been a fantasy guy on my team for one reason or other. Red zone, third down. He's always there for like 8 catches, 70 yards, right? Lamar is one of his big bullseye targets. So Kincaid, man, I'm going to look early and often for him this year. As far as what I see, I mean, I love everything, right? By the way, he put it on the carpet against Cincinnati this year, too. The Bills have got to stop turning the ball over. All these guys turn the ball over. Kincaid, remember? It was the end of the third quarter. The Bills they had all the momentum, if you remember this game. They had all the momentum, and they're driving down, and it's the end of the third. I believe it was a fresh set of downs. Allen probably made another play with his cape on. I keep showing you this. And then fourth quarter, they go to Kincaid. Beautiful play call. And Kincaid goes up into this gymnastic. Remember, he had one hand on the carpet, and the ball's down here, guys. It's down here, and the ball gets popped out. And that was the momentum gone in that game. That was the biggest play of the game. But I still really like him. He runs a lot of great routes. You can see the footwork, the size, the hands, the makeup, without signing like Mel Kiper Jr. saying all that stuff. The intangibles. But he really does. He's got that special. I'm not saying he's Travis Kelce. I'm not. And I'm not saying he's Tony Gonzalez. but he has some of those unique traits, running routes, finding his way, the perfect amount of space. Kirk Cousins just signed a deal too. I don't know who it's with, but it just
Falcons.
Oh, baby. Oh my.
Yep. Yeah, you mentioned Cousins. I didn't want to cut you off, but yeah, Cousins to the Falcons, huge.
Oh man, I like for Atlanta for sure.
4 years. 4 years.
4 years, a little risky, but I like that move. I like that. And by the way, Cousins I loved in fantasy. I mean, I had Cousins all the time. I look up, I'm like, I'll start him. I had him in one league, Lamar in another. That's what those guys have done to me. They got me in fantasy, and then another buddy of mine from local who graduated with my sister, who I've become friends with, he gets me in a league, sends me, goes, we need one more guy. He put it out there. If I didn't join, they would have gotten somebody, but I joined. What am I doing? It was an ESPN league. I'm in a Yahoo league with these clowns. Then I'm in the ESPN league. I'm in both these leagues, and I'm doing everything, guys, that I said I never would. I'm in fantasy. I'm in fantasy world. I'm in fantasy, fantasy land. I don't know what it's called, but a lot of it is fun. It is, and you're with the boys, and it's something to do. And it is challenging, right, because of the crapshoot factor. I'm not trashing fantasy because it's a fantasy show, trust me. But there are some frustrations. You got the balls in the air and all the rest. But I'm doing the fantasy thing. I'm in. I'm not quitting any leagues. It's a lot of fun. But Kincaid's one of my guys. I've been actually scouting my fantasy team coming up, to be honest with you. And when you guys asked me to be on the show, I'm like, I gotta kind of get back into that world a little bit. I'm doing hockey fantasy right now. It's unbelievable. But Kincaid, early and often, reminds me of Mark Andrews. I think he's a spectacular player. The only thing from a Bills perspective is the frustration level was why from day one at St. John Fisher College, all we heard about was Dalton Kincaid, right? They stole him. If he stays healthy with the back, watch out. He's going to be the new thing. Where was he the first 8 weeks? Yeah, where was he? He wasn't even like on the field consistently. When he did get there, he wasn't a prime target. Where were the numbers? And then you roll this 6'5", 200, by the way, same exact prototype as Dawson Knox, same thing. And you roll him out, and there's no numbers, and there's no targets. And we're like, been hearing about this guy since late August. Want to use him? And then finally, Dorsey gets canned. Joe Brady. So I think a full year of Brady, Kincaid equals fantasy points. Draft him early and often. I like it.
Yeah. So it sounds like for your friends listening, they just invited you to fantasy and then just give you a bunch of shit. So maybe they should make it a little bit more enjoyable for you, so the experience is better. So
you know what,
brothers, I
would expect nothing less. Honestly, I mean, come on, Folan's going to do it for sure, right? But David's a great sports fan. I've always told him that. But it's that's what fantasy is, though. It's part, you get in, and it's the fun of it, and it's the challenge. Yeah. I will tell you guys, though. I mean, there are way more positives for fantasy than negatives, obviously. And look at what fantasy has done for the league. I mean, how many people do you guys know that aren't? Well, do you like the Bills? Yeah. And they say that, and you're like, oh, they're like, I like the 49ers. Do you have a team? No, I just play fantasy and gamble. There are more people like that than ever before. Now, the NFL, the fan bases, the brands, they'll never die. The 49er brand, huge. Patriot brand, Steeler, Packer, Bills. We can go on and on here. I see the cowboy helmet in the back for Harbaugh. But the thing is, the brands are going to be there. The fan bases are huge. But we have a pocket of people who are just the gambling fantasy people. They are. And they just love football, And I've always said if they ever move the Bills, I don't know if I'd be in the league. I don't know. I mean, there's the officiating that's bothering me. There's a lot of things that get to me now. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to find out. Trust me, as much hell as they've given me in my life, I still don't want to find out. I mean, Music City Miracle, 4 Super Bowl losses, wide right, the Patriots, freaking 13 seconds. I could go on and on. They have given me living in the dungeons of hell, this team. But I don't want to see them go. I love the Bills. I love Western New York. I love chicken wings. I love the fan base. I love Josh Allen. I love them. I love the Buffalo Bills. But if they ever took him, I don't know if I could do the NFL because the product, the officiating and all the replay. Whereas hockey, like we talked about before the show, if they ever took the Sabres, I'd be wicked sad. But I don't know. The league's so good. Maybe I'd stick with it. But I'd probably like all the teams, and I play fantasy and hockey now. So I would be one of those guys if they moved the Sabres where I'd be like, well, I love the league overall because I can't love the Sabres and just go to the Rangers. I can want the Rangers to win when the Sabres are out, which is most of the time. Or I can say, wow, I'm going to root for your boy Bedard, or I'm going to root for McDavid, or I'm going to root for Sid the Kid to get one more cup. Penguins are terrible right now, by the way. But I can't go down that, I can't go down the boulevard in the NFL like that, where I think in the NHL I could. So I'm trying to make the analogy that I could be that person in hockey the way millions are in the NFL, guys. Fantasy sports, it's changed so much of things, but no more than in the NFL. And Dalton Kincaid, I think in 2024 can change your team. I think he's that good. I do.
I love it. Well, now we know why it's the ML Sports Platter, because we have covered college basketball, hockey, NFL.
That was part of the idea. Yeah.
But yeah, for sure.
No racing, no NBA, none of that stuff. I'm shutting it down if you ask me any of that stuff right now. I don't do any of that stuff. I do horse racing.
I definitely don't think the Bills are going anywhere. That fan base is just way too important to the NFL and the league. And it's just got such a such a great reputation across the league. But yeah, and then you mentioned chicken wings. I heard you earlier say that ask if a player uses ranch. So you're fully on the blue cheese train, right? I mean,
ranch dressing belongs in salads. Ranch dressing belongs with lettuce, cucumber, carrot. My perfect salad is lettuce, ranch dressing. I like ranch, honey mustard. I like a lot of dressings, but ranch dressing is the topic here at hand, by the way. And if you want me to power rank my wings in Buffalo, I can do that too. It's lettuce, ranch, carrots, croutons, cucumbers, ranch. Blue cheese is elite. And people who hate blue cheese, my wife hates it, for example. She makes fun of me because I'm a picky eater. I don't think I'm a picky eater. Just because I don't like lettuce, just because I don't like tomato, onion, mushroom, doesn't mean I'm a picky eater. I love broccoli. I love beans. I like zucchini, squash, and I love blue cheese. You want to call it mold? Call it mold all you want. It is mold. Give me wings, blue cheese, ranch, salad. End of debate. No, I know a lot of people who eat ranch with wings. Eat what you eat, like what you like. Not for me. Give me wings. Give me blue cheese. It's literally synonymous. They're synonymous with one another. Come on.
Yeah, I actually do want you to rank the best wings in Buffalo.
All right, I'm glad I prepped for the show. For anything. Now, keep in mind, you got to keep in mind that you can only power rank things like we were talking about Central New York food places, right, with Dino and Tully's. I don't think it can rank anything if you haven't tried it, right? The other thing is when you rank foods, you can't just say, well, I'm going to do this pizza place over another, and one place you had cheese and the other one you had pepperoni. You could be a pizza connoisseur, but you had two different slices. How can you possibly judge it? I feel like you have to have the same. You can try everything, but you got to have the same at some point at all of them, right? So you can compare it. How can you compare a normal wing to a hot wing, or a garlic parm to a gold fever, or a teriyaki or whatever? So I know this sounds stupid. I'm a huge, just regular mild chicken wing guy. And I feel like that's the easiest way to do it. Just a chicken wing. I don't need hot. I don't need barbecue. I'll eat them, but I don't need them. I love just plain chicken wings. Number one is Bar-Bill. It used to be Gabriel's Gate for a long time. They came back a little bit. I went to Gabriel's Gate with my cousin after we played golf a couple springs ago, and we went to a Sabre game. Saw McDavid, by the way, in the suites. Bar-Bill's out of this world. Number one. Number two, still firmly there is Gabriel's Gate, but I haven't had them in a while since the Frozen 4 in Buffalo a few years back. Number three, the most underrated chicken wing I've ever had in my entire life, Elmo's. Ridiculous. And great price. You can always get in there, sit down, and get the wings right away. Bang. Now, the last two, the fourth one, I got to go with Swanee House, which used to be downtown Buffalo by the arena, but I don't even think they're there anymore. I would go Swanee House 4, really, really good wing. And then 5, I have not had the 911 Tavern or whatever it's called that Tyler Dunn goes nuts over. And I haven't had Wing Nuts, which Ryan Talbot and Matt Perino and Allen and the guys go in with the Bills. They say those are unreal. I haven't had those two, so I can't put them in there. Bills fans are going to watch this and start, throwing daggers at me. I'm going to get social media. Oh, I haven't had them, so I can't say that they're in my top 5. I'm going to have them, and when I have them, I'm going to redo my power rankings because I'm sure they're going to be in there. I got to tell you, I'm going Anchor Bar number 5. I like Anchor Bar's wings. I think they're pretty good. Cobblestone around the arena. I don't know if they're still there, but I kind of have them as the outsider looking into the top 5, but you can't judge anything unless you've had them. And that's my top 5 right now. But I want to have those 2 places. Also, underrated wing place in Olean, Allegheny area by Bonaventure, Randy's on the River. Great chicken wings as well.
Love it. Truck taking notes.
100%. I am starving right now. When I was traveling through Buffalo, Wingnuts was the place that I was told. I did not stop there. It was a bit off my route, but that was one that I really wish I would have stopped at. But I think I need to go to Buffalo soon because I haven't had some good wings in a while. So.
But judging by your reaction, you may be putting ranch on your wing.
Oh, 100%. I completely disagree with you on the blue cheese. Blue cheese is garbage. Get it out of here. Ranch over everything. I put ranch on a lot of stuff. Stuff I don't want to admit on this podcast, but yeah, I don't know if it's a Midwest thing or what, but ranch is elite, and you can't convince me otherwise.
You never know. Your taste buds can change through the years. When I was a kid, I screwed up. I did. When I was little, I put ketchup on hot dogs, and now you couldn't pay me enough to put a ketchup on a hot dog. I put brown mustard on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's the way to go.
Grease. That Midwestern thing, the brown mustard is where it's at. I had brats in Milwaukee at a Brewers playoff game. You got to you got to be the brown mustard on the brats, on the conies, on hot dogs across the board. Your taste buds will change when you eventually get to be old like me. Trust me, trucker. It'll happen.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
All right.
Truck, tell me you are not one of those that dips your pizza in ranch.
Oh, I absolutely. Every time I eat pizza, I am drizzling ranch all over the entire pizza.
He eats ranch with Honey Nut Cheerios, from what it sounds like.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens on a drunken night. I come home. Just kidding.
Well, take my cell because I want to get that drunken call when it happens.
As a quick update, Saquon Barkley is officially signed with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow.
Ooh, Giant fans, that's a killer, man.
Yeah.
That's a killer.
Oh, wow. How many years?
That is crazy. It hasn't been reported yet, but just says he is currently signing with the Eagles. So
by the way,
I haven't seen anything else.
You know what, guys? The Eagles, they're an organization. They do not waste time. They are a quick acting like Carson Wentz. Boom. Howie Roseman. So obviously I'm a big Yankee guy. Brian Cashman sucks. He is the most overrated GM in professional sports right now. Howie Roseman. I mean, if you're an Eagle fan, Eagle fans are never happy, right? About anything. I mean, too little, too many, too much cheese whiz in their cheesesteak. Eagles go double-digit wins. It's a failure season. They're always bitching about something. I love the fan base because I love the emotion, I love the passion. But for God's sakes, once in a while, just can you smile? They booed Donovan McNabb, my boy. I mean, God, here's the thing. But Howie Roseman's quick. I mean, I got to tell you, a lot of fans for a lot of these teams, these fan bases, they would love Howie Roseman. He quickly sees errors and goes, we got to fix that. Does Saquon Barkley not fix them? I mean, my God. They didn't have Shane Steichen this year. Offense took a seat back. Jalen Hurts looked lost at times. The offensive line on the right side was a disaster. They couldn't run the ball. DeAndre Swift, by the way, he's off to Chicago, the former Eagle. Mm-hmm. Saquon Barkley in a new place with an offense that looks like they're going to be back this year. Talk about fantasy dreams. Talk about diamond in the rough. There's another one. We talked about Dalton Kincaid. How about if you had a fantasy team with, pick your quarterback, a couple of elite receivers, and then you put Barkley with that offense now, and Dalton Kincaid on that could be a good fantasy team right there. Sustainability, hopefully, if everybody's healthy, that could be a big fantasy model right there to get one of these running backs that's in a new place with a better offense. Saquon could have a big year there, man. That is something they need. But Howie Roseman, dude, give him 5 seconds, he makes 5 deals. The guy's a friggin' wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Barkley did go to Penn State, so there's going to be plenty of Eagles fans that were cheering for him at Penn State. Now happy to see him an Eagle, and Antonio Gibson, not as big of news, but he went to the Patriots. I think that's probably a good place for him to potentially find another role in the league. But anyways, speaking of free agency, Bills. Is there anything you'd like to see the Bills do there? I know they just had to clean up a bunch of cap space, so I don't know that they'll make any big splashes, but if there's any, any secondary moves you think they should make there, I'd like to hear them.
I mean, I think the offensive line is really, really bothersome for me right now. I mean, all those cuts that they made, right? Jordan Poyer, Jordan Poyer, I mean, that hurts your heart if you're a Bills fan. I know it had to be done, guys, but you want to talk about the early culture, the building blocks, the Poyer Hyde signings, like it hurts. He was a great Bill, but it had to be done. And I agreed with him. I agreed with White. I agreed with all of them, right? DeAndre Hardy, Nyheim Hines, all these guys. Sierra Neal I was kind of back and forth on. The one that hurt was Mitch Morse. I know Mitch Morse has had concussion problems and all the rest, but Mr. Defense, Mr. Methodical, Mr. Control the clock, Mr. I want to win 10-7, Sean McDermott, they finally figured out the offensive line. McDermott and Bean, it took them 7 friggin' years to figure out the O-line. Deion Dawkins, Connor McGovern, Mitch Morse, right? Like, these guys were great this year. Osiris Torrance picked in the draft, and then Spencer Brown. Depth pieces, Ryan Bates, by the way. He goes to the Bears the day before, and he was going to go there originally with the offer sheet, but the Bills matched it, and that's why he came back to Buffalo. I don't know, man. Ryan Bates, and I'm answering your question. It just takes me a while because I'm a loudmouth. Ryan Bates was traded to the Bears, and then the day after they cut Mitch Morse. I know it's $8.5 million. I know it's a big chunk. But, guys, this is the best line that Josh Allen's ever had. And Mitch Morse is the anchor. He's the center. He's Allen's boy. He's a locker room guy, and they've got big-time chemistry. I'm not saying they give each other back rubs, off the field. But, geez, I mean, this line was great this year for the most part. It really was. And now you don't have Bates as a depth piece, and Mitch Morse isn't there. So that's the answer. I would like to see in free agency – go try to find maybe a couple low-end quality guys. I don't have any names for you, but, you dig deep and try to find maybe a couple of bench players, a couple of depth guys at center and guard. Because if you're going to experiment with Osiris Torrance, who played some center and guard in college at Florida, you put him in there as a second-year guy. I mean, aren't you kind of taking a risk there? I mean, Connor McGovern, you're going to play him at center? And you bring back David Edwards. He's a decent player, but he's not an all-world guard. I don't know. That move with Mitch Morse, I felt like you could have cut money elsewhere. I think also free agent signings, maybe you kind of try to find a safety on the cheap. They did bring back Taylor Rapp, which was a good thing. Simmons is going to be way out of the price range, right? I mean, he got cut. That'll be way out of there. But those are a couple of positions there. They're just going to have to nail the draft. I mean, that's the bottom line. They're going to have to nail the draft, and then the guys who they have to perform. That's all there is to it. But here's the thing. The Bills have knocked on the door. They've got the Super Bowl window, all the sorts. The head coach continues to screw up. 13 seconds, the last couple minutes against the Chiefs at home. This is a team that the Chiefs, they figure it out. It was just a different flavor of the dynasty like the Patriots always did. But they got the ball. Like, go score. Go score. Don't play for a 44-yard field goal, which was wide right. How fitting. You had the Chiefs down a little bit. Come on. You get the 2 seed. You got him in your building, man. I mean, the head coach, it's been fun to be a Bills fan again. Trust me, they broke the drought, division championships, playoffs, double-digit wins, prime time, Josh Allen. They win on prime time. They're a national phenomenon, the chicken wing stuff, blue cheese. But it's all McDermott. It's these little moments. It's these things, these places where Andy Reid and the Sean McVays and these guys don't screw up in the big moments. I look at it right now, and I had conversations the last couple of days with other big Bills Mafia people, big, best friends of mine, and 2 of them are in that damn fantasy league, by the way, the other day. But I talked to them over dinner, and I said, I'm gearing up for a regular season. Great. A draft? Cool. I'm not I sound emotionally invested, but I don't think I'm going to be this year because, unfortunately, we've arrived to this point where, fairly or unfairly, because they did all those things in the past, they're in a block of time where they got to win one. They got to win one. So why am I getting geared up for the draft and regular season if they're going to go win another 11 games in the division and lose to the friggin' Chiefs again? Why am I excited for that? I'm not.
You mentioned with free agency who you want to see them sign and stuff. To my knowledge, I could be wrong, but you guys are still a little over 12 million over the cap. You just made all those cuts recently. You guys got rid of half your defense, it seemed like. It seems like you still got to make some more cuts. Is there anybody that you want to call out on the team that you want to see them, cut off the team and save some room there?
I would love, Trucker, for them to cut Knox, but again, you're sitting on that money. I mean, the way the money works is that, that dead cap. I'd love to see him. I mean, here's a guy I'd love off the team right here. Von Miller. There's another one of these little people, okay? But you know what? Von Miller, you can't do anything because of the money. However, did you see what he did with his deal? He reworked all, a lot of roster gymnastics there. Those are really the only couple of guys, right? I think what Beane's going to do, and this is why the salary cap is so overrated. I understand people, you got to get under the cap, and the NFL has the cap and the parity, sure thing. We've had 2 dynasties since 2000. I mean, my God, the Patriots and the Chiefs have won 9 Super Bowls. The Patriots went to 9 and won 6. Baseball's got more parity than the NFL, and Ohtani signs for $5 billion, but the Yankees ruin the sport. The thing is, with the Bills, with the cap, they were just 50 million or so over. Now you can cut people. You might have to find people to replace them. Somebody's going to be in the uniform, right? Whether it's a cheap free agent, a draft pick, somebody's going to be there. So don't give me this whole, the cap. The cap. They got to get under. They were just 50 million over, and they're almost under already after less than a week. So come on. I'd love to move off Miller and Knox and all that money. I just don't think it's realistic. But you can do so many things with the salary cap. Think about contract extensions. Then you can prorate money. You can do things with bonuses. I mean, give me a break with the salary cap is so important, and it's so overrated. It isn't even funny. Brett Veach is going to do the same thing, and the friggin' Chiefs are probably going to go back to the Super Bowl. Beane's going to do it. Roseman's going to do it. Ballard's going to do it. Name your GM. Every GM in the sport is John Lynch is going to do it. Every guy is going to do it. It's the same thing. Every team can do it. Oh, but wait till you pay the quarterback. And you're still doing it with the quarterback. You're still roster gymnastics. You can do anything you want with a salary cap. You can cut people. You can, come on, extensions, bonuses. Give me a break. The salary cap is so overrated. It isn't even funny. But I don't know, Trugger, because all these guys with the money you can't cut Diggs. You can't. There's another situation where you're going to cut him and then have the money sit there against your cap, and then he's going to go play elsewhere. You can't do that either. I don't think anybody else really jumps to mind with just get rid of him because you can't get rid of the money.
I think what they'll do is what I had read was they'll just restructure Mike's little person there, hold him up again. They'll restructure number 17's contract and free up about $20 million right away. Just add some voidable years, do stuff like that, and boom, it's done.
Magic.
Yeah.
Well, just we've covered quite a few sports here. I want just my final question is going to be covering another sport. I see you're wearing a PGA zip up. Well, I have Willie Z Zalatoris winning the Masters this year. Who do you got and why?
By the way, how good is Full Swing?
Oh, love it.
Oh man, Harbaugh's in. I love it, man. I think the show is phenomenal. Golf is in a weird spot. Can I say that one thing before the Masters? Golf's in a weird spot. Next time, we've been on for an hour, but next time we got to go at least 2 or 3, right? I mean, can't you see you guys? I kind of got getting used to talking today, so I'm kind of getting used to that.
Yeah, we're running it back. For sure.
Yeah, we got to do it. I'll come on for we got to set a block of time, 2 hours. I'll go on 2, 3 with you guys. I love this stuff. Zalatoris is a great pick, but golf is in a really, really tough spot because you've got the live thing going on and they're battling back and forth. But here's the thing. What's funny about all this is the parity. You want to talk about parity. Anybody can win on the PGA Tour. It's never been easier. The glorified exhibitions of all these things, they've made the Ryder Cup and they've made the majors even greater. How is that even possible? People are, who's going to be the next Tiger? What are we going to do? And da-da-da-da. You might not get the ratings like during the Tiger era, right? Well, you definitely don't. But the best thing to happen for golf's majors and the interest in the Ryder Cup is the fact that they're battling because all these other, the John Deere Classic and all these other who cares? What matters is the majors, the Ryder Cup, and then a few of these other secondary events. Maybe the Arnold Palmer, the Players. That's it. Everything else is garbage. It's all, I don't care about any of these. I couldn't tell you who wins any of these tournaments. And this year we've had all these players pop up. No disrespect to these no-name PGA guys, because the worst player on the PGA Tour, I would literally write a check to have their game. I would, because they're that good. It's that competitive. The Masters. Here's the one guy I want to see win it, and then I'll give you who I think is going to win it. I want to see Rory win it. I love Rory. If he goes to live, he's done with for me, at least. And I got to come around on him a little bit. I know that guy eats blue cheese and wings together. I know that for a fact. He's got him because he married someone from Rochester. He's got to have blue cheese with his wings and then his garbage plates afterwards. I want Rory to win. He hasn't won a major in 10 years. It feels like forever. Yeah. If he wins it, he completes the Grand Slam, right? And he know that pissed him off when Brooks Koepka won at Oak Hill. He said it in full swing. He'd be at 5. We start to get into that territory, right? Nick Faldo up to Watson's got 8 majors. We start to get into Arnold Palmer territory and a couple more. I mean, Rory needs one, man, soon. He needs one. I want him to win it. The guy I think is going to win it, and again, golf, you could throw a dart at a wall, and it could be anybody, right? I think Tom Kim is going to break through and win his first major. You see him on full swing. He's a young phenom. He's battled adversity. You saw him limping all over the place, right? He's got a swing from God. I mean, the guy is he doesn't hit it as long as Rory and Brooks and those guys, but he's kind of mechanical. He reminds me a lot of a Matsuyama, and he can shape his shots. He comes from Korea. He's mentally prepared. He's grown a lot. I don't know. I like his game a lot. But again, there's 40 guys that could win the friggin' Masters, man. 20, well, maybe not 40, but 20 to 30 guys. I got Tom Kim winning it. I want Rory to win it. Tell you the guy who I want to win a major this year as well is Ricky Fowler. I would love the 4 major winners to be Rory, Ricky, Tom Kim, and then, you could give me really anything that's a great story, really, from there. Anything that's a great story. You put Dustin Johnson on there, fine. You're going to get some Paulina Gretzky shots. You got Brooks Koepka. You're going to get that bottle rocket. You're going to get whoever you want. But I'm talking great story. Great story, like maybe a Ben Curtis thing again, right? We need maybe one of those again or something. I don't know. That Wyndham Clark, that was a great story, man. I mean, he was, I just lost my mom about a year and a half ago. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Wyndham Clark lost his mom when he was young, and he went and won that U.S. Open, at the LA Country Club. And he talked about his mom, and I was bawling last night watching that in full swing. I was bawling because it hit me, without my mom, I'm lost. And he was bawling, and so he won that trophy, and he saw a psychologist, and he's a champion. He's a freaking major. That stuff. We need one of those. Ricky, Rory, Tom Kim. Run it back. Let's go.
I love it. Well, yeah, now we've covered, 5 or 6 sports, but it's been a great episode. I mean, like you said,
horse racing, anything else?
We'll save it for next time for sure. We've covered an hour. I don't want to take up all your time, but we're going to definitely, as the Bills storylines develop throughout the year, we're going to, hopefully ask you to come back on and continue to talk Bills with us, talk Buffalo Wings, talk. I mean, we'll find, we'll find everything to talk about there. But Truck, you got any final questions?
No, I'm good, man. This was great, Mike. Thank you for joining us, and very informational, and I appreciate you coming on the pod.
Yeah, I will come on as many times as you guys want. I had a blast. Obviously, I talk a lot, but you get a guest on, your guest is supposed to talk, right? So
that's right.
I just wanted to quickly throw out last 10 seconds here. If you can, I'm at ML Sports Platter on YouTube, and you can catch some past interviews I've had just the last month. You mentioned March Madness. I've had Jay Billets on, Seth Greenberg, Clark Kellogg, Adrian Autry. So there's a bunch of them on there. You get the past episodes, the new ones. I got a lot working here in the near future, and hopefully the guests will keep coming as we keep changing. It's a great time of sports here, so definitely check out all my stuff.
Absolutely. Well, you heard it here first. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Go check out Mike Lindsley on Twitter and check out his show, ML Sports Platter. Other than that, everybody knows what to do. Buckle up.